Welcome to the Swedish Junior Hockey Podcast. I'm your host, Jacob Dahlin. We're going to continue the trend of Swedish junior players now playing in Canada. With us today is Jakob Rhodin. And welcome to the podcast, first of all.
Thank you very much.
This episode is brought to you by Scandlux, your home for Scandinavian luxury products for the U.S. market. You can find us at scandlux.com.
So how do they pronounce your name in Canada?
Jacob Rhodin.
Rhodin, okay.
Well,
It's always interesting. I was called Darling for a long time instead of Dahlin, but I have to tell people. All right. A little bit about your background, of course. So we had early on in the Swedish Junior Hockey Podcast, we had Johan Eriksson on, who kind of talked about, since he was kind of working with the Brampton Rattlers a little bit. So I've had you on the radar since the summer, and we finally were able to connect. And in the meantime, you've been a steady point producer out there. But before we get to Brampton, let's talk about you as a player, as a person. I know you grew up in a hockey family. Your dad played.
yeah.
Most important, finished up his career in Leksand. Was he part of bringing Leksand up in the SHL?
No, not that year. They were close, but they didn't do it. So
Okay.
apparently not. But yeah.
We just had Oscar Alsenfelt on, and he was part of his career was bringing Leksand up, but not from Leksand originally, but Värmland and Karlstad. So Färjestad is your home team,
Yes.
if I understand. So why in the world would you choose not to go to Färjestad for hockey gymnasium, but you chose Leksand?
On my under 16 season, I didn't got a place in Färjestad's hockey gymnasium. So then I had some other teams I was talking to, like Örebro, and then Leksand. And on the meeting, when they decided to not give me a place, they said that Leksand was interested. So I went there. I practiced one time, and then 2 days after I got the contract, so then I decided to go to Leksand instead, which I think was good for me to
Who was the coach? Who was the coach at that time in Leksand for J18 when you first got there?
same as now, Patrik Andersson.
Okay, and he's been there for a while.
Yeah, really long time. So yeah, then it felt good right away, and felt like it was the right fit for me, to also come away from Färjestad with my dad was a big name, to go to Leksand and build a little bit of a new name for me. So it felt good.
Yeah, and then of course, so 3 years in Leksand, and let's talk a little bit about that, because I think Leksand, of course, is a unique place, but Färjestad is not a huge city, but pretty good size, small city, and they had an NIU, of course, SHL team who just won the national championship last year, and Leksand, smaller place. How was it to move from? Because did you grow up in Karlstad all your life, or did you move around any?
I lived in Fribourg in Switzerland when I was like 1, 2, 3, but I don't remember so much from that. But I think it was nice with Leksand, with the small city, with the small like village almost. It felt a good place to move alone to. It was really, really easy. You could walk or take the bike everywhere, and the team got really, really close, because we were the only guy that hanged out together, because there were no one else to hang out with. So the team got really, really close, and
where did you guys?
really
Where did you live? Did you live in Leksandstrand?
Yeah, in the first year I did that, and then the 2 other years I lived in an apartment over the restaurant Bosporen. So a little
Okay.
more in the town when the 2 other years.
So yeah, we're going to give a unshameful plug for a restaurant på spåren, which is a pizza and restaurant across from Siljan's Konditori.
Yeah,
The most amazing bakery and coffee shop on the planet.
yeah,
And it's funny, we went there this past summer, and the same guys sit and drink coffee forever outside, and everybody knows everybody. People come and go, and just a neat place.
yeah.
Leksand Strand must have been okay, though. I mean, it's a little bit of a trek from the center of this of town, or not the city, but town, but closer to the rink.
Yeah, it was like, it was nice too. Like a lot of players lived there. I lived right next door to some of my teammates, so that was nice too. On the winter, it was a little bit tougher when there was a lot of snow, but other than that, it was good too. But then I
Yeah.
felt like it was more nice to have my own place in an apartment, so that's why I decided to move the second year.
So did you have roommates in the at Leksand Strand?
No, we had a smaller cabin, so everyone had their own, so it was
Okay.
nice too.
Okay, cool. I just think I mean, what an amazing way to grow up and focus on school, academy, high school, and then hockey and everything else in a really safe, protective, but just welcoming place. We went to the same school then in Samuelsdal.
Yeah,
I was in 7th, 8th, and 9th D, I believe, on the lower floor when I was there. So been a while ago for me.
yeah.
So all right, so you played J18 in the highest division. So back then, was it called J18 and J20 Elite when you were there, or did they change it to? So you were right there when they were changing from J18 to Elite to Region and Super Elite, National.
Yeah, the first 2 years in E18 was still E18 Elite, but then when I moved to E20, it was E20. Then it went from E20 Super Elite to E20 National. So
Yep. So if I'm looking at your Elite Prospects page, of course, you played with some of the best players in the country at the time, and it's a few notable people. Isak Rosén, who just finished Junior Worlds, plays for in the Buffalo organization. Emil Heinemann, who's in the Montreal Canadian organization, still plays for Leksand. Jesper Kandegård, Elias. Who else is in here that are significant players? I mean, they're all really, really good players. And it'd be interesting to just talk to every one of them and have similar paths or so on. But if we go back 3 years in hockey gymnasium, and then you got one more year left after you graduated high school, what happened? Then you decided to make a change to Vita Hästen.
yeah, like the thing was in Leksand, I had more of a defensive forward role. Like it was hard to compete with Rosén and those guys. So
Yep.
I played more of a third line, fourth line role in box play and all that. That was good for my development too, I think, because especially off ice, you learn a lot about how much you need to train and all that. So I learned a lot, and a lot of systematics too. So now I have really easy for that. And like, but then in my third year, it was tough. And then COVID came, and then I decided to take a chance after Christmas to go to Vita Hästen. And I could have online studies with my Leksand school. So I went there and I lived in Norrköping for like 2-3 months, and I got a good opportunity there to play with the professional hockey allsvenskan team.
Yep.
4 games, and I practiced with them a lot, and that was a really good second half of that season for me. And it felt very good, and it sounded very good. So I felt like after I was done with school, I decided to go there again and give it a shot. But then it didn't really went how I wanted it to. So it was a really tough season for me. My year after graduation, and then I decided to move to a town closer to my hometown to get some love back for the game, and to try to just have fun. And it was fun, really fun, but that was hard too. You know, it was my first year where I had the opportunity to play like a first line guy, and
Yeah.
I was not used to that. So it took some time, but now it really helped me. And this year, I feel really comfortable to be that guy that you can rely on to go out and score, and help the team win on that role too. So
Yeah, I mean, certainly, and we're going to talk about how you ended up at Bradford Rattlers in the Canadian juniors. But I think I mean, certainly, what I wanted to emphasize a little bit on how incredibly tough it is at the real. You've been at the competing at the best of the best in J20 Super Elite, and you're looking to the right and you got drafted players or close to drafted players, and there's only so many spots. So in this SHL team in Leksand, they may have 2 spots that they're pulling up, or maybe 3 spots, or 2 forwards, or 1 forward and 1 D that they're going to pull up and get the chance to, and everybody's fighting for those spots, which is tough from a standpoint of having the ice time, but I'm sure it taught you a lot to compete as well.
yeah, yeah, very much. And on practice too, like it was a really tough. We fought a lot on practice. It was really hard work, and everybody wanted to have those spots, especially not just in the SHL team, but in the team, to get to play every weekend. So sometimes it was fights and all that, but outside of the ice, it was a really good team. That
Yeah.
before COVID's hit, we were first in the table, so we had a really good team. And especially, I think that why we were such a good team is because we always pushed each other all the time in the gym, on the ice, and in everything. So I learned a lot, really much from that too.
Yeah.
How the leaders were pulling the whole team together, and also how it is to get cut and to sit there in the stands when all the other teammates and friends plays. It's tough, but sometimes everything happens for a reason, and you learn a lot from it too. So
I agree, and so this is the part that you know, your path has been very linear up to this point. Okay, you didn't get into Färjestad, but okay, Leksands not a bad spot, right?
no,
And then competing there, and then now you get to a point where you took a little bit of all right, I'm going to choose my own path. So how did it happen? I know you went through an injury as well, kind of there towards the end, I believe.
yeah.
And how did you end up making the decision? Because I'm sure there's a little bit of a fork in the road of, okay, I'm finishing up J20, so I have the choice of playing another year of juniors in the US with eligibility and maybe go the college route, or staying in Sweden and playing Division 1 or Division or Hockey Allsvenskan Division 1, kind of Hockey Ettan there. Let's walk through how that path or that decision happened for you.
Yeah, I was like, during that third year, I was looking a little bit at Norway actually. So I talked a little bit with John about that, and I talked with some teams, but at the same time, I didn't really feel that I was 100% ready for that. And then more of spring came, and we started talking about Cana, and I said I was interested in going to school and going to college. So then we started talking a little bit about Canada. where he said like it's a high chance you will get a good offensive role there, and you get to play a lot there, and then to be more of an offensive player, which I think was really good for my development. Which I think was really good for my development. So then instead of staying in Sweden and maybe get a hockey-a-thon place somewhere where I should play like fourth line or something, I felt like Canada was the right choice for me. So
Yeah.
to get to even more ice time and develop more.
Yeah. And of course, one of the did you know at the time about the import rules in tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 juniors in Canada?
Yeah, a little bit. Like I know it's hard for a European to come to like OJ and some. I don't even think they have
Correct.
Europeans in their league, so I had to choose another junior A route here. So
Yeah.
and then I saw like I heard a little bit about my line mate in the team Jesper going here, which has also played in E20 Super Elite in Breen as our rival. So I know he's a good player. So it felt like if we two could play together, it would have been a really good year for both of us, and especially for me. So then I decided to go here, and so far it's been very good, and I like it. I think it has helped me a lot with my game to get my offensive instincts a lot better with the puck, especially like to have the confidence to do stuff, which I know I can. So I think I've unlocked a lot of new abilities in my game by coming here. So
Yeah. So this is kind of an interesting spot now. Of course, so you do have the end with Johan Eriksson, who's been helping getting Swedish players in. We've talked about the Bradford Rattlers, who plays in the GMHL. So it's not why not play in the AJHL, BCHL, and CCHL or Q is because they don't. You're not eligible to play unless you've been there for, I think it's 2 or 3 years and playing already. So it's not really an option from an athletic standpoint. I mean, from a eligibility, you probably would have been, a good attractive players at those other leagues. But I think that what Johan was talking about and I want everybody to go back and listen to, I think it's episode 2, is that this gives a chance to play at what's considered junior A, but there's so many junior A, junior B leagues up there, and it's a little bit of a rock and roll, leagues up there, and not every place is a great fit. Not every place is a good place. But certainly with Bradford, so let's talk about Bradford. Where is Bradford? Not too far from Toronto, right?
No, like 45 minutes from Toronto. So it's good too. If you have a off day, you can go to Toronto and see cool places too. So it's nice.
Yeah. And then, so if we pull up your roster here, so you play in the GMHL, which is the Greater Metro Hockey League, and it's not one of the Canadian junior hockey. The CJHL is not one of the major junior hockey leagues like the OHL or WHL, but Canada has a lot of these kind of smaller leagues out there. But what's interesting is, and sometimes they get a bad reputation because there's a lot of rules in Canadian junior hockey, and especially with imports. And a lot of these are underneath that level where there's less restrictions for imports. If we're looking at the roster here, you're playing with a Russian kid, Stefan Levinsky, 83 points in 33 games.
Yeah, he's very good actually. I was surprised that I would play with such good players like Jesper too.
And then Jesper.
And then
Jesper Eriksson.
Yeah, I think Stepan is a very good player, especially in the offensive zone. Jesper is more better all around. I think with the defensive zone too. But yeah, it's fun to to still get to play with good players. Of course, there's a difference from Leksand with NHL draft picks, but it's still better for me. So I really like it actually.
Yeah. So if we're looking at Jesper, Brynäs product from Stockholm originally, kind of a similar thing in terms of, teetering right there, played J20 Super Elite, and then running out of eligibility and played half a season in Hockeyettan, and then made the jump just like you did. And between the two of you, so 33 and 32 games, Jesper has 63 points, 27 goals, 36 assists. So you got 32 games, 21 goals, 34 assists, 55 points. So pretty impressive. You must have a heck of a good time right now playing hockey.
Yeah, of course, very fun. It's the first time in my career too where I feel like I really do a lot of points, and of course that's fun, and especially playing with Jesper because we take a lot of defensive responsibility too. We
Yeah.
get a lot of ice time in the defensive zone too, and in the box play especially, which I think is good. And if you're playing a league like this, it's maybe not the points is the most important thing. I think the most important thing is to show that you can play a mature game where you can play in every single zone and always be on the right spot every single time. I think that's the most important thing if you want to take it to the next level.
Yeah. And then a couple other Swedes out there too, another Swiss player, another couple of Russians, Czech. So it's a whole hodgepodge of international players in this team.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's hard. Like I tried to learn a little bit of Russian, but it's extremely hard. So some of them can't really speak English super good, but it still goes around. So it's fun. I live with Jesper and they're Swiss guys, so
Okay.
it's not
Well,
we
let's
all
talk.
three live together.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. Is that a typical? So you're not in a billet situation where you have a host family, or you have
Yeah, I have a host family actually. We all three live here in
okay.
the house, so we all have our own room, and the billet family is really really nice. Very very supportive and all that. So it was very easy to make the transition from Sweden to here. I think
Okay.
it feels like you are in a family, so I really like it here. So
How far are you from the rink?
like a 5-10 minute walk, I would say. So
Okay.
it's really close, which is nice. Yeah.
Because I imagine you don't have a car and there's not the bus and train transportation like you're used to.
No, exactly. Yeah. We have sometimes we can borrow the car, but it's only Sven, that the Swiss guy, that is allowed to drive it because he's the only one with an international driver license. So sometimes we have the car, which is nice, but other than that, we can. It's easy to just walk, and if you want to go to Toronto, it's easy to take the train too. So
Okay. Awesome. So let's talk about so we've talked a little bit about your background and how you ended up there, and certainly you've got the reboot that you were looking for, and where you may have been kind of stuck. You hit the obstacle, detoured a little bit, and then found a place where you can showcase that you're a good player. What's next? So right now we're recording this and it's the end of January here. Probably be released a few weeks in the future here. But how much more do you have in the season? Does that go all the way into April, or how long do you go?
yeah, like I think we play regular season games until the 21st February. Then the playoff starts, and I think the playoff is to around late March, and then we have a tournament for all the teams that won their division. I think in the 4th April to 6th April. I think the last So the last game is at 6th April, I think. So we're not
Okay.
trying to get a new. So yeah, that's around there.
And right now I'm looking at the win-loss record. You guys are doing okay. 31 wins and 1 loss.
Yeah, exactly. I think our team is a little bit over the other teams in terms of not just player history, but the players we have is played in better places before, and
Yep.
our team is on the paper is the best team too. So
Yep. And I see that there's a North, South, and West division of the Greater Metro Hockey League. So, all right, let's look forward a little bit. April comes really, really quick. I'm assuming you're going back to Karlstad over the summer.
yeah, I'm doing. Yes, I'm doing. So then I'm talking with some schools right now. So I will try to get a school done in some weeks at least and commit and everything. I just need to do this the TOEFL test, which I think so I feel confident in for that. So in some week I will have it done, and then I will try to commit and get everything done. So
yeah, the TOEFL is I took the same test 30 years ago, and I remember it being a requirement for college. So that's kind of what your plan is. Not necessarily to go back to Sweden and try to break into the SHL, but hey, you got an opportunity here to leverage the position that you're in. So are you looking at Canadian colleges or universities, or are you looking at US colleges and universities?
US actually.
Okay.
I talked a little bit with Canadian, but let's say it's the same thing there. It's easier and better as a European to go in the US because they don't have the same with scholarships and all that in Canada. They can't really give out that. So if you want to go in Canada, it's going to be really expensive. So
So let's talk about that then. So you got D1 schools and you got D3 schools and you have ACHA schools, and the challenge, of course, is going to be everybody wants to go D1, but what not everybody understand is that not everybody goes play D1 gets a full ride scholarship.
No, exactly. So and that's the thing too, that the economic standpoint is going to be an important thing, and also the living standpoint, because I know it's some teams up in Alaska, which I'm not interested in, but I'm gonna pick that place that feels the best fit for me.
Yeah.
So I will see which level it is and all that, but the economic standpoint and the living standpoint is going to be the most important things, of course, because if you don't get a full ride scholarship, you're looking around like $50 $50,000 a year, which is very, very much, because in Sweden the education is free, so it's a bit different. So
I'm sure that with the background that you have and the season that you've had so far, you've got a lot of interesting places, but you have to be selective of what's going to be the right fit economically, living wise, and where you're going to play. So how does that work from a standpoint of course, you got the gymnasium education. Have you looked at, besides, I'm sure you're going to have to go through the NCAA clearinghouse, or I don't know what it's called now, but it used to be called that, and shore up your eligibility as well. Have you already completed that part?
no, but the
it's
school
next
part,
on the
I
schedule,
think,
I'm sure.
Yeah, and I like that when I talk with coaches, they say and schools, my grades and all that, they think they're really good. So the school part is not a problem. It's just that I need to do this TOEFL test now and get everything done, so I can commit and I'm eligible to commit. So that's the next step for me.
Yeah. And how do you feel in terms of not everybody? I want to be cognizant about this too, that not everybody's a right fit from a standpoint of going into the university from a academic standpoint, but it sounds like that you kind of prepared for that as well. So how do you feel about that?
Very good. I like school, and I want to have a good education too, because you never know what happens in your
Yep.
life. You can get an injury or whatever it is, and I want to have an education. And then at the same time, from the athletic standpoint, also play 4 more years against players similar to my age, which I think is good for my development too, because I need to have that before I can go into the professional world more. So
Yeah. No, and I think that that's the side of college or collegiate hockey in the U.S. versus playing Allsvenskan or as a young player or Hockeyettan. I think it fits so well, and the treatment and the atmosphere and how you would grow as a person. It's a different life, and
yeah,
it's pretty attractive. Yeah, you want to find a place that you don't come out with a with financial uh, uh, you don't want to be tied to the student loans too much, but with good grades and finding that home, I think that it'll settle itself out, and you'll find a good home between now and June or something, or
yeah.
we'll be, I don't know if you listen to Spit and Chicklets on podcasts, but there is this thing called the Chicklets bump. Have you ever heard of that?
I listen a little bit to it, but I'm more listen to the Swedish podcast like Släppsargen,
Yeah.
which I think is my favorite podcast. So yeah, I listened a little bit to Spit and Chicklets too.
Yeah. So in Spit and Chicklets, they talk about the Chicklets bump, which means that when they have a guest on, that after they've had a guest on, that their point per game goes up and they get a bump from just that. Well, the last couple of things, I think we had Christian Skarpagen on shortly after the episode was released. He got a new position with the Chicago Blackhawks. Oscar Sköld, who was just on, he just signed with a team in Estonia. So, who knows what's going to happen
Yeah.
with Jakob Rhodin. It may be showing up in the elite prospects transfer window soon, or commitment
Yeah.
window. We're gonna take full credit from the Swedish Junior Hockey Podcast bump. So
Yeah, of course, of course.
no, it'll be good. It's gonna be fun to kind of to see how it goes. I think it's your journey is helpful for Swedish players that are interested. Like, man, what's it like? And it sounds. I talk to a lot of players that are like, man, it sounds really interested, but I just don't know. And it's not for everyone. But I think that, and you got to be careful, right? I mean,
Yeah,
ending up in the wrong place can happen.
yeah, of course. Like I thought, it's hard to, because if you're not that top elite player in your E20 Super League team, it's hard to know where you're gonna go. Like, because it's only, like you said, like 1 or 2 players that get to take their place in the SHL team, and it's hard to know if you're not if you had a more of a defensive role that year, and it's hard to know what am I gonna do now? Am I gonna quit, or am I still gonna try to push for it? It's hard to know where you want to go, and it's in Sweden. I think it's better in North America, where you have the opportunity to play college hockey at a good level, and you can play juniors more, and like not everybody develops at the same speed. Some guys develop super quick and are ready for the SHL, but some guys need not only 1 more year, maybe 2, 3, 4 more years. So I think North American way to look at it is better, and it's something that Sweden should look a little bit at and try to learn something from.
Yeah. All right. So I asked this question before, but you're a little bit you're not so far removed. How would you give advice to the younger self, you met, yourself as a 17-year-old. You're not that far away from it because you're still pretty young, but you're 20 now, right?
Yeah, I'm 20. So
20. So you're 3 years more wiser than when you were 17. What advice would you give to young Jakob Rhodin, the 17-year-old that is in hockey gymnasium, and if you met him today?
I would say the mindset I have now, and when I'm gonna go out on ice now, is that it's not the whole world if you do one mistake or two mistakes. It's like that's the biggest thing I would say, to be brave out there and not be scared of making mistakes and all that. And sometimes too, which maybe sounds wrong, but not every single time listen to the coach at everything. Like go your own way too. I think it's important if you want to be a little bit extra. So don't be afraid to make mistakes, and even if you're still older, and even if you play at a high level with NHL draft picks in your team, it's still just a game, and don't forget to have fun too, because that's the most important thing, I think.
Yeah, there you have it. Very, very, very mature and very great advice for any 17-year-old, whether you're playing hockey or you're not. And I just want to say thank you for coming on. I've been bugging you for a while, and I know you've been busy, but we finally got able to connect, and it's great. We're continuing the trend of smart Leksand players, even though you really are Färjestad. But we'll take credit for it anyway. Thanks for jumping on. Good luck. I know you got games this weekend, and we'll keep pulling for you and see if we can get the bump here from the podcast.
Thank you very much for bringing me on. So thank you.